Someone watching this video right now thinks pop music is about talent. They are wrong. Pop music is a high-stakes specialty industry. The Billboard Hot 100 is not a chart. It is a professional league. And like any professional league, it has dynasties, rule changes, salary caps, and MVPs. We are not here to review songs today. We are here to audit 6 industrial dynasties, each one built on a specific technical specification, each one terminated by a single rule change that made its operating model obsolete overnight. The locals will think this is a ranking video. The auditors already know this is a forensic report. Someone in the comments is going to be furious, the kind of furious that requires a second account. They are going to be furious because we are about to explain with receipts exactly why the math doesn't support the mythology. 6 dynasties, 6 complete systems, 6 MVPs who ran the league until the market found their structural weakness, broke the architecture apart, and installed the next regime. Clock starts now. Era 1, the Teen Pop Imperial, 1998 to 2002. Before anything else, you need to understand what Max Martin actually built. Not a hit, not a sound, a production philosophy. He did not write music. He engineered neurological feedback loops, melodies that resolve slightly before the expected beat, triggering a microdopamine response in the brain. The brain believes it predicted correctly and rewards itself every time, without fail. That is what was playing in your car in 1999. You take a high, kinetic, vocally capable female performer, run that framework across her entire sonic genome, and launch her simultaneously into physical retail, radio saturation, and MTV placement. Vocals mixed bright and forward, engineered to cut through a car speaker at 60 miles per hour. It was built to be impossible to escape. The league MVP, Britney Spears. Her range sits in a single functional register. That was a deliberate engineering decision. Max Martin needed a delivery system with zero timbral interference. Her voice occupies a frequency pocket that does not compete with the sub-bass or the harmonic mid-layer. She is not the instrument. She is the interface. Baby, One More Time. Oops. Slave 4, You. 3 releases, 3 total cultural resets, choreographic grammar, visual identity, tabloid narrative managed like a quarterly earnings report, global commercial rollout timed to the promotional cycle with military precision. This was not a pop career. It was a multi-platform deployment event. Rookie of the Year, Christina Aguilera. Technically superior vocal architecture. A 5-octave range capable of gospel-informed runs with harmonic complexity the radio format could barely compress. She was a premium product in a market optimized for volume. The system, she validated it at maximum output and then started filing for a variance. The rule change that ended Era 1, the Napster event, 1999. What Napster killed was not physical sales. What it killed was the funding architecture. High-budget coordinated star deployment requires 7-figure marketing budgets and guaranteed per-unit revenue. The moment per-unit revenue collapsed, the machine became economically inviable. Era 1 did not fade. It was defunded. A college student in a dorm room legally disassembled the most efficient pop machine ever constructed. R&B Takeover, 2003 to 2007. The industry hemorrhaged for 2 years. And then 2 producers from the American South restructured pop's entire sonic genome. Timbaland and Pharrell provided a corrected thesis. Under the old model, the main event was the melodic line riding above the production. Under the new model, the main event was the rhythmic sub-bass pulse. Syncopation placed at mathematically unexpected positions within the bar. Sub-bass functioning not as background frequency but as a lead melodic voice. So foregrounded, it becomes the emotional center of the track. When your head nods before you can identify the song, that is the Timbaland framework operating as designed. It demolished the wall between pop and R&B that radio programmers had maintained for a decade. Urban club integration was no longer a crossover gamble. It was the mandatory operating standard. The dual MVP designation is the only defensible forensic call. Beyoncé arrived with Crazy in Love in 2003 and immediately demonstrated what we classify as elite kinetic density. Maximum vocal output, maximum choreographic precision, and maximum performance intensity operating simultaneously without degradation in any single variable. Her albums functioned as the era's quality ceiling. Every release simultaneously a commercial event and a critical recalibration of what a female pop artist was permitted to demand from the industry. Rookie of the Year and co-MVP Rihanna. Her Barbadian inflection introduced a timbral texture the American radio format had never compressed into a 3-minute single before. She did not enter as a total performance system, she entered as a frequency match operator. Her vocal timbre sitting at the precise intersection of the Timbaland rhythmic framework and the melodic hook layer. Pon de replay, SOS. She is not competing with the production, she is completing it. Her catalog across 8 albums produced a hit per track density ratio that no artist in this audit can match. Umbrella, We Found Love, Diamonds, Work, Stay. 8 weapons from 8 distinct sonic contexts. No filler, because filler was never resourced. On the hit per track density metric, Rihanna wins the catalog audit. The math does not negotiate. The rule change that ended Era 2. The 99-cent iTunes single, April 2003. When Apple disaggregated the album into individual purchasable units, the album as architecture model became economically unsustainable. Era 2 didn't end because the sound got old. It ended because the economic container it lived in was redesigned. Era 3, the Gaga Era, 2008 to 2012, when the album economy collapsed and the single became the atomic unit of commercial pop, the industry made a fundamental miscalculation. It assumed the product was still audio. Lady Gaga arrived in 2008 with a corrected thesis. Working with Red One as her sonic engineer, she enacted a complete inversion of the conventional production hierarchy. In every prior era, the song was the main event and the visual was the promotional vehicle. Gaga reversed this. The music video became the main event. The song became the trailer. The Bad Romance video is not a promotional artifact for the song. The song is the audio component of a total sensory architecture, in which the visual layer carries the primary narrative weight. Sonic, visual, narrative, and fashion variables deployed simultaneously at maximum intensity, engineered so that each variable reinforces the others. When you remove any single element, the system degrades. That is intentional design. The Lady Gaga persona generated interpretive labor in the audience. Think pieces, fashion analysis, academic readings of music video semiotics, functioning as free distributed marketing at a scale no label budget could replicate. Every Grammy performance was a conceptual installation with a thesis statement. The baseline for Extraordinary was forced upward every quarter, and Gaga raised it herself before the market could. The MVP of Era 3, Lady Gaga. Just Dance, Poker Face, Bad Romance, Telephone, Born This Way, Edge of Glory. No other artist in this era deployed total aesthetic saturation at this frequency without market fatigue. The Fame and the Fame Monster combined for over 15 million albums. Born This Way sold over 1 million copies in its first week in 2011, when both physical and digital sales were in structural decline. She succeeded by becoming too large for the collapse to contain. Supporting player, Katy Perry. Teenage Dream produced 5 #1 Billboard Hot 100 singles from a single album, matching a record previously held by Michael Jackson's Bad. As a pure hit density vehicle, that album is one of the most statistically efficient commercial artifacts in pop history. The rule change that ended Era 3, YouTube and Vevo saturation, 2012 to 2013. When every artist had a professional music video and visual content became universally accessible and infinitely available, visual scarcity ceased to exist. Era 3 was not defeated by competition. It was defeated by abundance. Era 4, the Lore Era, 2013 to 2017. After maximalism came architecture. When Spotify normalized unlimited access, the discovery model changed. Scarcity of access was eliminated. What became scarce was narrative, the sensation that a body of work meant something beyond its individual units. Taylor Swift identified that gap and built an industrial system around it. The conversion of passive listeners into active investigators who treat a pop catalog the way a detective treats a crime scene, Easter eggs embedded in album artwork, numeric codes in lyric videos, era transitions announced through color palette shifts, cross-album thematic callbacks structured as deliberate signals, track titles released in sequence as puzzles. This is not fan service. This is a retention architecture. When a listener is actively investigating a catalog for embedded data, their engagement time per release is exponentially higher than passive streaming. Swift did not build a fan base. She built an investigative community and then gave them evidence to analyze on a quarterly release cycle. 3 maneuvers define the forensic case. She pulled her catalog from Spotify in 2014, forcing a public conversation about streaming royalties while creating artificial scarcity around her most valuable assets. She marketed 1989 as a deliberate genre migration, transparent enough that the transition itself became the narrative, and the Easter egg infrastructure turned an audience from consumers into decoders. The Eras tour was not a concert, it was a lore summit. 1989 sold 10 million units in an era of structural decline. Lore indexing produced it. Rookie of the Year, Ariana Grande. She deployed vocal system escalation, each release increasing the technical complexity of her vocal deployment model, forcing the market to continuously recalibrate its assessment of her ceiling. Problem: Into You. No Tears Left to Cry. God is a Woman. Each release is not just a new song, it is a demonstration that the previous assessment was incomplete. By Dangerous Woman in 2016, the vocal comparison to the previous generation's arsenal was no longer a compliment. It was an accurate technical assessment. The rule change that ended Era 4, the algorithmic playlist, 2015 to 2017, when Spotify's Discover Weekly and Release Radar became the primary discovery mechanism. The artist-to-fan relationship was intermediated by an algorithm. Discovery moved from active fan investigation to passive playlist delivery. Era 4's technical specification requires a behavior the new discovery model was systematically eliminating. Era 5, the Sad Girl Era, 2018 to 2022. The maximalism was gone. The narrative empire was being dissolved by algorithmic playlisting, and into that structural vacuum came the quietest revolution in pop history. Phineas O'Connell, working in a converted bedroom in Los Angeles with his sister, placed Billie Eilish's vocal below the mix, inside the production, as if the voice is located directly inside the listener's skull. Whispered from inside you, this was not minimalism for aesthetic reasons, it was minimalism as competitive strategy. In an era where streaming platforms were delivering audio through phone speakers and earbuds at low bit rates, the most sonically distinct position was the one occupying the quietest frequency register. While every other producer was competing for loudness, stacking layers, compressing for maximum presence, Phineas was engineering intimacy as a differentiating instrument. These records do not sound quiet. They sound close. That is a deliberate architectural distinction. The MVP of Era 5, Billie Eilish, she is a total system. Vocal delivery, lyrical register, visual language, and interview persona, all calibrated to maintain the intimacy effect across every touchpoint. Bedroom produced, zero radio saturation infrastructure. She became the youngest artist to win all 4 major Grammy categories in a single night. Pure sonic architecture generating industrial leverage. Rookie of the Year, Olivia Rodrigo. Sour is the most convincing rookie season of this era. She deployed intimacy on the verses of Driver's License and anticipatory melodic resolution on the bridge. That is a technical crossover strategy that activated both the Era 5 streaming audience and the residual Era 4 lore architecture audience simultaneously. She was carrying both blueprints at once. The rule change that ended Era 5, the TikTok Reset 2020. TikTok's For You page had restructured the primary discovery mechanism for popular music from playlist curation to 15-second loop optimization. Era 5's core technical asset, time, was eliminated as a market variable. The reset was complete. A new operating system was loading. Era 6, the TikTok Era, 2023 to 2026. The final dynasty does not begin with a sound, it begins with a metric. A track's entire streaming trajectory is substantially determined within the first 14 seconds of its hook. Not the verse, not the bridge, not even the full chorus, the opening hook fragment. The entire industrial logic of this era flows from that single algorithmic constraint. Engineer the hook first, build the rest outward, ensure every lyric is optimized for screenshot and share quotability before you consider whether it means anything at depth. The system architect of this era is the TikTok algorithm itself, the first non-human entity to hold this position in pop history. The artists are optimizing for its outputs, not the other way around. The MVPs are Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan, sharing the designation because they are winning 2 completely different versions of this era simultaneously. Carpenter is the era's most technically complete operator. Espresso is the forensic case study. Hook density in the first 7 seconds that rivals the Max Martin Imperial phase. That same neurological feedback loop firing inside a compressed delivery window, executed with a vocal playfulness and lyrical wit the manufactured era never permitted. She carries the structural DNA of 1998 inside the algorithmic wrapper of 2024. Short and sweet as a cohesive album architecture in a singles economy is increasingly rare. She is not just winning the short-form game, she is building catalog inside it. Rowan is the era's most disruptive force. Maximalist aesthetic commitment, character-based persona, drag performance aesthetics, 80s synth pop architecture, live performance as conceptual event. Good luck. Babe is the forensic document, a hook engineered for TikTok velocity, carrying melodic and lyrical ambition that belongs to a completely different era. She is playing two league eras simultaneously and winning both. The current system's stress fracture is already visible. When every track is engineered for 14 seconds, pop music experiences a depth recession in everything that follows. Hook saturation is rising. Listener attention cycles are shortening. The algorithm is beginning to consume its own supply chain. When the rule change comes, and it always comes, it will end this dynasty the same way every previous dynasty ended, not through failure, but through a single infrastructural shift the reigning system was not designed to survive. 6 dynasties, 6 MVPs, 6 eras of documented technical excellence, all of it operating inside a framework 2 people built. Michael Jackson didn't master the music video, he authored its grammar. He didn't pioneer the world tour, he defined it as a geopolitical event. Every visual, atmospheric, and algorithmic era in this audit is a downstream application of his 1979-1991 OS. He is the standard. Madonna built the operational infrastructure. Album as visual event, career as serial brand reconstruction. Every female pop act since 1985 has run a version of her system. These two are not participants. They are the constitutional architects. Peer review in the comments. 3 criteria minimum. Who you'd swap, which category, and why. Drop your Era 7 thesis, show your receipts. Locals don't apply. Audit closed.